Nia sits across from Mr. Harper, her Harvard hoodie a bold splash of color in a room faded by years of routine. The air is thick with the weight of expectation and the subtle tension that comes from being measured against invisible standards. Mr. Harper's eyes drift over her transcript, pausing not on her perfect grades or leadership roles, but on a note about her family. He leans back, his expression carefully neutral, yet his words carry a familiar edge. Let's be honest, Nia, Ivy League schools are a stretch. They look for something extra. His tone is gentle, but it lands with the force of a slammed door. Nia's hands tighten in her lap, nails pressing half-moons into her skin, but her voice is steady as she responds, listing her accomplishments without a hint of apology. She waits for him to acknowledge her work, her drive, her right to dream, as big as anyone else. Instead, he offers a smile that doesn't reach his eyes and suggests she consider state schools, places where, he assures her, she'll have a better chance to fit in. The words hang between them, heavy and unspoken. You don't belong. Nia's gaze drops to her notebook, where she's written Harvard again and again, each letter a silent act of defiance. She remembers Malik, another student who sat in this chair, heard the same speech, and proved them all wrong. The memory steals her resolve. She stands, her shadow stretching across the desk, and thanks Mr. Harper for his advice, her voice calm but loaded with meaning. As she leaves, the quiet in the office grows heavier. Mr. Harper watches her go, the broken pen in his hand a small, sharp reminder that the old rules are starting to crack. Outside, rain streaks the window, blurring the ivy that climbs the brick walls. Ivy that once seemed so strong, now just another thing that can be washed away. Nia walks down the hallway, her steps measured, her determination unshaken. The world may try to shrink her ambitions, but she's already pushing past its boundaries. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. Ms. Adebayo's eyes meet Nia's. Trembling hands, a silent exchange heavy with unspoken understanding. Without a word, she slides a worn copy of Hidden Figures across the desk, its pages dog-eared and marked with notes. The book falls open to a chapter on systemic bias, the words stark against the faded paper. Sunlight fractures through the window, casting fragmented light on the ivy gripping the school walls outside, a quiet reminder of the roots that bind and the walls that confine. Nia's breath steadies, her fingers brushing the highlighted passages as the weight of history settles around her. The librarian's raised brow speaks volumes, a gentle nudge to dig deeper, to see beyond the surface. The room feels charged with quiet power, the kind that comes from knowledge and the courage to confront uncomfortable truths. Nia's eyes lift, meeting Ms. Adebayo's steady gaze. In that moment, a silent pact is formed, a commitment to uncover the stories buried beneath layers of neglect and prejudice. The air between them hums with possibility, the first step toward awakening a system long asleep. Outside, the ivy's shadow stretches across the brick, its grip both a symbol of endurance and a challenge to break free. Nia closes the book, her resolve hardening. The fight is no longer just hers. It belongs to every voice that has been muted. She stands, the weight of the moment pressing down, but her steps are sure. The path ahead is uncertain, but the light of understanding has been kindled, and with it, the promise of change. Nia sits in the dim light of the library, her eyes fixed on the flickering screen as security footage plays. The grainy video shows Mr. Harper, his face drawn intense, feeding Malik's recommendation letter into the shredder. The machine's relentless growl fills the room, drowning out the faint rustle of papers and the distant footsteps of students passing by. Ms. Adebayo stands beside Nia, her hand resting gently on Nia's shoulder, a quiet gesture of support that anchors her in the moment. Nia's breath catches as a single tear slips down her cheek, smudging the keyboard beneath her trembling fingers. She copies the footage, the weight of betrayal settling heavily in her chest. The shredder's hum fades, replaced by the steady rhythm of Nia's heartbeat. Her eyes lift to meet Ms. Adebayo's steady gaze, finding strength in the librarian's unwavering presence. The room feels charged with a new resolve, a silent promise to expose the truth hidden beneath years of routine and neglect. Outside, the ivy clings stubbornly to the school walls, its shadow stretching long in the fading light. The camera lingers on the crumpled letter, now reduced to confetti, a symbol of the opportunities stolen and the quiet violence of systemic bias. Nia closes the laptop with a soft click, her fingers lingering on the edge. She exhales slowly, the fight ahead clear but daunting. The shredder's guilty hum is a call to action, a reminder that quiet complicity is its own kind of harm, and justice demands a voice. Nia's mind races, the image of the shredded letter, burning behind her eyelids. She recalls the countless times she was told to lower her expectations, to settle for less. The weight of those words presses down, but her spirit remains unbroken. Ms. Adebayo squeezes her shoulder gently, a silent vow of solidarity. "We won't let this go," she says softly, her voice steady but fierce. Nia nods, swallowing the lump in her throat. "This isn't just about me. It's about every student who's been passed over, dismissed, or forgotten." The library's quiet hum is a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside her. She knows the path ahead is fraught with challenges, but the truth is a weapon she's ready to wield. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, poised to send the evidence into the world. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself. It's time to be heard. Nia's fingers tremble as she types the final words of her anonymous post. The hashtag Harpergate blazes across the screen, a digital beacon piercing the quiet walls of the school. Replies flood in, stories of overlooked dreams, whispered injustices, and silent betrayals. Each notification is a small victory, a crack in the facade that once seemed impenetrable. Across town, Mr. Harper sits in his office, the weight of the growing storm pressing down. His Ivy League diploma hangs crooked on the wall, a symbol of a legacy now unraveling. His face is pale, eyes darting nervously to the glowing screen as the number of retweets climbs relentlessly. He fumbles with a stack of folders, hands unsteady, as if hoping to find reassurance in the papers that once gave him power. The room feels smaller, the air thick with a tension he can't dispel. The camera lingers on the shadow of ivy creeping over his desk, twisting like a noose tightening with every new mention. Outside, the school's brick walls seem to shudder under the weight of exposure. The quiet power of a single tweet begins to ripple outward, awakening a system long dormant. In the staff lounge, teachers exchange uneasy glances, some whispering, others staring at their phones in disbelief. A secretary pauses mid-sentence, her gaze fixed on the trending hashtag, her lips pressed into a thin line. Nia watches the screen, her breath steady despite the chaos unfolding. The digital world has become her stage, her voice amplified beyond the confines of the guidance office. The tweet is more than a message. It's a reckoning, a call to arms for those who have been silenced. She sits back, feeling the weight of what she's set in motion, knowing there's no turning back. In the hallways, whispers grow louder. Students exchange knowing glances, teachers shift uneasily, and the administration braces for the inevitable. Reckoning. The balance of power tilts, subtle but undeniable. Nia's resolve hardens. She knows the path ahead is fraught with challenges, but the truth, once set free, cannot be contained. The tweet that cracked the facade is just the beginning of a revolution, born from quiet courage and relentless hope. Nia sits in the deserted auditorium, the hush so complete that even her own breathing seems too loud. The rows of empty seats stretch before her, each one a reminder of the countless students who have come and gone, some celebrated, others quietly overlooked. She holds her acceptance letter in her hands, the paper trembling slightly as she reads the words again, needing to see them, to believe them. The quiet in the room is thick with anticipation, as if the walls themselves are waiting for something to break. In her mind, Harper's words replay, soft, dismissive, meant to keep her in her place. State schools are safer. The phrase circles in her thoughts, not as a warning, but as a challenge she has already overcome. She glances at the trophy, case near the exit, her reflection merging with Malik's MIT photo. Both of them proof that the boundaries set for them were never real. The glass is cool beneath her fingertips as she traces the edge of her own picture, a silent promise to herself and to those who will follow. Her phone vibrates, the screen lighting up with a message that feels like both an ending and a beginning. Welcome to Harvard. For a moment, she lets herself feel the pride, the relief, the vindication. But it is not just her victory. It is a crack in the foundation of a system that has held too many back for too long. Outside, the ivy on the school walls stirs in the wind, its roots loosening, the old order beginning to falter. The air is charged with the sense that something irreversible has started. Nia stands, the acceptance letter still in her grasp, and walks slowly down the aisle. Each step is deliberate, each breath a declaration that she will not be diminished or deterred. The world outside is waking up, unaware that inside these walls a quiet revolution has begun. The silence before the storm is not emptiness, it is the gathering of strength. The final pause before change sweeps through. Nia moves quietly between the tall shelves, the library's hush broken only by the gentle thud of a returned book. She finds herself drawn to a battered volume tucked behind a row of untouched encyclopedias. When she opens it, a folded sheet slips out and flutters to the floor. Picking it up, she recognizes Malik's handwriting, tight, urgent, and unmistakable. The list is long, filled with names she knows and some she doesn't, each one a student who once had big dreams. Next to every name is a single word: discouraged, redirected, waitlisted. The meaning is clear. These aren't just names. They're stories of ambition quietly redirected, of hope quietly stifled. She sits at a table, the list spread before her, and feels the weight of every story pressing down. The silence in the library is different now, not peaceful but heavy, as if the very air is holding its breath. Nia's eyes move from name to name, remembering the faces, some who left, some who settled, some who simply disappeared from honors classes without a word. She realizes, with a cold certainty, that she is not alone. The system's fingerprints are everywhere, smudged across the futures of so many who dared to want more. As she reads, Ms. Adebayo glances over from the circulation desk, her gaze lingering on Nia with a mix of concern and encouragement. The librarian doesn't interrupt, but her presence is a quiet reassurance that this discovery matters. Nia's mind races with questions, but her heart is steadied by the knowledge that the truth is finally surfacing, even if only in whispers. She traces Malik's name at the top of the list, feeling a surge of gratitude and anger. Gratitude for his courage, anger for the necessity of such a list. The library's quiet grows heavier as Nia folds the paper and slips it into her backpack. She stands, her resolve sharpened. What was once a place of comfort now feels charged with purpose. The hidden list is no longer a secret. It's a spark, and Nia knows she cannot let it fade into the background again. She glances at Ms. Adebayo, who gives a subtle nod, as if to say, "Keep going. The story isn't finished yet." Ms. Adebayo watches Nia approach, her steps slower than usual, the weight of the hidden list still heavy in her backpack. The librarian's eyes meet hers, steady, knowing, and quietly fierce. Without a word, Ms. Adebayo reaches beneath the counter and pulls out a worn copy of Hidden Figures. She slides it across the desk, letting her hand rest on the cover for a moment before releasing it. The gesture is gentle, but loaded with meaning, a silent invitation to see what has always been hidden in plain sight. Nia opens the book, her fingers brushing over the highlighted passages and margin notes that mark years of quiet resistance. Each page feels like a message from the past, a roadmap to truths buried beneath layers of polite conversation and institutional routine. She reads a line about women who were told to know their place, to accept less, and feels the sting of recognition. The words echo in her mind, mingling with the names from Malik's list, forming a chorus of stories that were never meant to be heard. Sunlight filters through the high windows, casting fractured patterns on the desk and illuminating the dust. Motes in the air. The library, usually a sanctuary, now feels like a vault of secrets, each book a potential witness. Ms. Adebayo stands nearby, her arms folded, watching Nia absorb the message. She doesn't speak, but her presence is a shield, a promise that Nia isn't alone in this search for truth. The silence between them is thick with understanding, a quiet alliance formed not by words, but by shared experience. Nia closes the book, her resolve hardening. She looks up at Ms. Adebayo, who gives her a single, deliberate nod. The warning is clear. The system has always chosen who gets written into the narrative and who gets left out. But now, with the evidence in her hands and an ally by her side, Nia feels the first stirrings of real change. She slides the book into her bag, the weight of it grounding her as she prepares to take the next step. The library's quiet is no longer oppressive. It's expectant, waiting for the story to finally be told. Nia sits alone in the dim glow of the computer lab, the steady hum of servers echoing her racing thoughts. Her fingers move quickly across the keyboard, navigating the maze of archived emails and hidden folders buried deep within the school system. Each new file reveals another layer of bias, coded phrases, indirect warnings, and a chilling pattern of exclusion that stretches back years. She pauses as the screen flickers to an email chain marked confidential. Mr. Harper's words are blunt. Prioritize legacy applicants, avoid risky recommendations. A deleted reply appears for a split second. Risky chows minority? And the implication lands like a punch. The words are never spoken aloud, but their meaning is unmistakable, exposing the quiet violence that has shaped so many futures. Nia's breath catches as she scrolls through more messages, each one a thread in a tapestry of discrimination woven into the very fabric of the institution. The weight of her discovery presses down, but her resolve only hardens. She knows that what she's found could change everything, not just for her, but for every student who has ever been quietly redirected or told to settle. The evidence is damning, and for the first time she feels the possibility of real change flickering at the edge of her fear. She leans back, rubbing her temples, the exhaustion of the night settling into her bones. The faint sound of footsteps approaches, and Ms. Adebayo enters, her presence a steady anchor in the storm. Without a word, she places a reassuring hand on Nia's shoulder, a silent promise of support. The quiet strength of the library, the trust in that simple gesture, bolsters Nia's courage as she prepares to bring the truth to light. Outside, the ivy clings stubbornly to the brick walls, its shadow stretching long in the fading light, a symbol of endurance and the slow unraveling of old, unjust systems. Nia's eyes lift from the screen, determination burning bright. The path ahead is daunting, but the truth is a weapon she's ready to wield. Her mind flashes to Malik's quiet smile, a reminder of what's at stake. The fight is no longer just hers. It belongs to every student silenced by the same cold routine. Nia's mind replays the image of the deleted email reply, a ghost in the system that haunts every hallway and classroom. The words, though never spoken aloud, echo louder than any accusation. Risky nas minority? The erasure of truth is a loud confession, revealing the quiet cruelty embedded in the institution's core. She sits at her desk, the glow of the computer screen casting sharp shadows across her face. Each deleted message, each hidden reply, is a thread unraveling the fabric of a system built on exclusion. The weight of this knowledge presses down, but Nia's resolve only grows stronger. She knows that exposing this silence is the first step toward dismantling it. Around her, the school hums with the usual noise, Lockers slamming, footsteps echoing, distant laughter, but beneath the surface, a storm brews. Teachers glance nervously at their phones, whispers ripple through the staff room, and the usual. Routine feels fragile, as if held together by a thread ready to snap. Nia's fingers hover over the keyboard, hesitating before she copies the email chain to a secure folder. The deleted reply is a symbol of the system's attempt to hide its bias, but it also marks the beginning of its undoing. She thinks of Malik, of every student who was told to settle, to lower their sights, to accept less. Her breath steadies. The fight is no longer just about her dreams. It's about every voice that was silenced, every opportunity stolen. The deleted reply is a crack in the wall, and Nia is ready to widen it. Mr. Otis, the janitor, leans against the hallway wall, his eyes tired but steady. He watches Nia approach, her backpack heavy with secrets and determination. His voice is low, almost a whisper, as he shares a story that has long been buried beneath years of quiet labor and overlooked dreams. "My daughter," he begins, "she was told to stick to trade school. That was the advice she got from people who should have known better." Nia listens, her expression softening, the weight of his words settling between them like a shared burden. Otis pulls a folded letter from his pocket, worn at the edges but never sent. "This resignation letter," he says, "was my silent protest. I never sent it, but it was my way of saying enough. The hallway feels smaller, the walls closing in with the weight of unspoken truths." Otis's hands tremble slightly as he folds the letter back into his pocket. "We work in the shadows," he says, "but our stories deserve to be seen." Nia nods, her resolve deepening. The janitor's lament is not just a personal tale. It is a testament to the countless voices silenced by a system that values some dreams over others. As Otis straightens, a janitorial cart creaks softly behind him, a reminder of the daily grind that often goes unnoticed. Yet in this moment, the quiet dignity of his story shines brighter than any spotlight. Nia places a hand on his shoulder, a silent vow to carry the truth forward. The hallway light flickers, casting long shadows that stretch toward a future where every voice is heard. Nia stands before a locker tucked away in a quiet hallway, its paint chipped and faded like forgotten memories. She hesitates, then opens it to reveal a stack of unopened envelopes, each bearing a student's name in neat handwriting. These are recommendation letters never sent, silent testimonies to dreams quietly deferred, and futures quietly stolen. She pulls one out, tracing the name with a trembling finger. Each letter is a story paused, a promise unfulfilled. The weight of lost opportunities presses down on her, a tangible reminder of the system's quiet cruelty. The air feels thick, heavy with the ghosts of ambitions that were never allowed to take flight. Nia's mind drifts to the students whose names she recognizes, friends, classmates, faces that once shone with hope now dimmed by neglect. She imagines their disappointment, the silent resignation that comes from being passed over without explanation. The letters are more than paper. They are fragments of lives altered by unseen hands. As she carefully repacks the letters, Nia feels a surge of determination. These unsent letters are not just evidence, they are a call to action. The system's shadows are long, but the light of truth is beginning to pierce through. She knows the path ahead will be difficult, but the stories in these envelopes demand to be heard. Her fingers linger on the cold metal of the locker door, a silent vow forming in her mind. Each unopened letter is a testament to the countless voices silenced by routine and prejudice. The weight of history presses down, but so does the weight of responsibility. She thinks of Malik's quiet courage, the librarian's steady support, and the janitor's unspoken pain. Their stories intertwine with hers, weaving a tapestry of resilience and resistance. The letters are no longer just paper, they are the foundation of a movement. Nia takes a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation and resolve. The fight ahead is daunting, but the truth is a beacon she cannot ignore. The locker's secret is no longer hidden. It is a rallying cry. She steps away, her footsteps echoing softly in the hallway, each one a step toward justice and change. Nia moves through the school halls like a shadow, careful to avoid drawing attention. Her phone buzzes constantly, filled with screenshots, emails, lists, notes, each a piece of a puzzle revealing the depth of the injustice she's uncovering. The images from a mosaic of bias, a silent indictment of a system built to exclude. She pauses in a quiet corner, scrolling through the messages again. Each screenshot is a story, a whisper of dreams deferred and opportunities stolen. The weight of the evidence presses down, but her resolve only grows stronger. She knows that exposing this truth is the first step toward change. Teachers glance nervously as she passes, some offering furtive looks, others avoiding her gaze. The usual hum of the school feels different now, charged with a quiet tension. Nia's footsteps echo softly, a steady rhythm of determination. In the library, Ms. Adebayo watches from behind the desk, her eyes filled with a mix of pride and concern. She knows the path ahead is difficult, but she also sees the fire in Nia's eyes, the same fire that once fueled the fight for justice in generations past. Nia's fingers tighten around her phone as she prepares to share the evidence with those who can help. The shadows around her seem to recede, replaced by a growing light of hope and courage. The fight is no longer hers alone. It belongs to every voice silenced by the same cold routine. She takes a deep breath, steadying herself for the battles to come. The screenshots are more than images. They are a call to action, a beacon in the darkness, and a promise that the truth will not be hidden any longer. Nia sits with Jasmine in a quiet corner of the school courtyard, the weight of the evidence heavy between them. Their eyes meet. A silent exchange of fear, anger, and hope. Jasmine's voice is barely above a whisper, but her words carry the promise of change. "We'll make them see." Nia nods, her fingers tightening around the stack of screenshots on her phone. The truth they hold is fragile but powerful, a crack in the wall of silence that has protected the system for too long. Around them, students pass by, unaware of the quiet revolution brewing in their midst. The two friends share a moment of resolve, their breath steady despite the storm they are about to unleash. Jasmine's whispered vow is a spark, igniting, a fire that will spread beyond the school's walls. Nia's heart pounds with the knowledge that this is only the beginning. As they part ways, the camera lingers on Nia's determined face, the light of conviction shining in her eyes. The shadows of doubt and fear recede, replaced by a growing strength. The first whisper has been spoken, and the system can no longer pretend it does not hear. Outside, the ivy on the school walls sways gently in the breeze, its roots loosening, a silent witness to the change that is coming. The courtyard is a quiet battlefield, where every glance and every breath carries the weight of unspoken truths. Nia's mind races with the faces of those who have been overlooked, dismissed, and forgotten. The screenshots in her hand are more than evidence. They are a testament to resilience and a call to action. Jasmine's eyes flicker with a mix of fear and determination. "They think silence will protect them," she says softly, "but we're breaking that silence." Nia's gaze hardens. "This is bigger than us. It's about every student who's been told they don't belong." The sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the courtyard. The ivy's roots seem to loosen further, as if responding to the growing unrest. The air is thick with anticipation, the calm before a storm that promises to shake the foundations of the school. Their footsteps echo softly as they walk away, each step a quiet declaration of defiance. The first whisper has become a roar, waiting to be heard. Nia's fingers tremble as she types the final words of her anonymous post. The hashtag #HarperGate blazes across the screen, a digital beacon piercing the quiet walls of the school. Replies flood in, stories of overlooked dreams, whispered injustices and silent betrayals. Each notification is a small victory, a crack in the facade that once seemed impenetrable. Across town, Mr. Harper sits in his office, the weight of the growing storm pressing down. His Ivy League diploma hangs crooked on the wall, a symbol of a legacy now unraveling. His face is pale, eyes darting nervously to the glowing screen as the number of retweets climbs relentlessly. He fumbles with a stack of folders, hands unsteady, as if hoping to find reassurance in the papers that once gave him power. The room feels smaller, the air thick with a tension he can't dispel. The camera lingers on the shadow of ivy creeping over his desk, twisting like a noose tightening with every new mention. Outside, the school's brick walls seem to shudder under the weight of exposure. The quiet power of a single tweet begins to ripple outward, awakening a system long dormant. In the staff lounge, teachers exchange uneasy glances, some whispering, others staring at their phones in disbelief. A secretary pauses mid-sentence, her gaze fixed on the trending hashtag, her lips pressed into a thin line. Nia watches the screen, her breath steady despite the chaos unfolding. The digital world has become her stage, her voice amplified beyond the confines of the guidance office. The tweet is more than a message. It's a reckoning, a call to arms for those who have been silenced. She sits back, feeling the weight of what she's set in motion, knowing there's no turning back. In the hallways, whispers grow louder. Students exchange knowing glances, teachers shift uneasily, and the administration braces for the inevitable reckoning. The balance of power tilts, subtle but undeniable. Nia's resolve hardens. She knows the path ahead is fraught with challenges, but the truth, once set free, cannot be contained. The tweet that cracked the facade is just the beginning of a revolution, born from quiet courage and relentless hope. Nia sits in a quiet corner after school, the glow of her phone screen still reflecting the aftermath of the viral tweet. She tries to steady her breath, aware that the world outside is shifting in ways she can't control. A knock interrupts her thoughts. The door opens slowly, and a local reporter steps inside, notebook in hand, eyes sharp but cautious. There's a brief pause as they both assess each other, Nia, uncertain but resolute, the reporter, sensing the magnitude of the story unfolding. The conversation begins with careful questions, each one probing a little deeper. The reporter's voice is calm but persistent. Why now? Why risk everything? Nia looks down at her hands, then meets the reporter's gaze, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. Because silence only protects the guilty. If I don't speak, nothing changes. The reporter's pen moves quickly, capturing every word, every hesitation. Nia's story spills out, not just her own, but the stories of classmates whose dreams were quietly redirected, whose names disappeared from honor rolls and college lists with no explanation. The air in the room feels charged, heavy with the promise of exposure. The reporter leans forward, lowering their voice. Are you afraid? Nia pauses, searching for the right words. Fear is a luxury I can't afford. Not when so many depend on this. The weight of her answer hangs between them, both understanding. What's at stake? The reporter nods, a gesture of respect and a silent pact to carry the story forward. They close the notebook gently, the sound echoing in the stillness. As the interview ends, Nia exhales, the burden momentarily lighter but the fight far from over. Outside, the school's brick walls seem to lean in, listening to the truth that's finally being spoken aloud. The camera lingers on Nia's determined face, her quiet strength unbroken. She stands, ready to face whatever comes next, knowing that sometimes the smallest knock can open the biggest doors. Nia sits in a quiet room, the weight of recent events pressing down on her. The reporter's question lingers in the air. Why? Now? She takes a deep breath, her eyes steady despite the storm around her. Her voice is soft but unwavering, each word carrying the burden of stories that have been pushed aside for too long, because he'll do it to someone else tomorrow. The answer is more than a reply. It's a warning, a promise, and a call to action all at once. The cracks in the system are growing wider, and the moment for change can no longer be postponed. Her mind drifts to the faces of those who came before her, Students discouraged, dreams quietly set aside, voices that were never given a chance. She thinks of Malik, of Ms. Adebayo, of Mr. Otis, each one a thread in the tapestry of resistance that stretches back further than anyone wants to admit. Their courage is a steady current beneath her resolve, reminding her that this fight is not just about one person's story, but about all those who have been told to wait, to accept less, to remain silent. The injustice is bigger than any single moment, and the need for change is urgent. Outside, life moves on, unaware of the quiet revolution unfolding within these walls. Nia knows that silence is no longer an option. The truth has been set free, and with it, the power to reshape the future. She leans forward, her hands clasped tightly, her voice steady as she continues, "If not now, then when? If not me, then who?" The room holds its breath, the weight of her words settling like a stone in the stillness. The reporter nods, understanding the gravity of what's been shared. The story is no longer just about injustice. It is about hope, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of those who refuse to be erased. Nia's gaze lifts, meeting the camera's lens with quiet determination. The fight continues, but the first steps have been taken. The system's foundation trembles, and the future is beginning to shift. She exhales slowly, the quiet strength in her breath a promise that this is only the beginning. The room remains, still, the weight of change settling in the air like a slow dawn. Nia sits in a small community center, surrounded by a growing crowd of students, parents, and teachers. The air is thick with emotion. Stories of pain, resilience, and hope spill. From every corner, faces once hidden in silence now shine with courage, each voice adding weight to the movement that Nia helped ignite. Messages pour in from every direction, texts, calls, social media posts. Each one is a testament to the ripple effect of truth. Parents share the struggles their children faced. Students recount moments of being passed over or discouraged, and teachers admit to their own blind spots or regrets. The collective pain is real, but so is the resolve to build something better. Nia listens, her heart heavy but unwavering. She watches a mother hug her daughter, relief and pride mingling in their embrace. A teacher steps forward, voice trembling, and offers a quiet apology for years of looking the other way. The room pulses with a new energy, a network awakened, no longer willing to let injustice stand unchallenged. Outside, the school's brick walls seem less imposing, the ivy less suffocating. The old shadows of exclusion are pushed back by the light of solidarity and shared purpose. The camera lingers on Nia's face, calm and resolute, as she realizes that this flood of stories is only the beginning. Each testimony is not just an echo of the past, but a building block for a future grounded in dignity and fairness. The scene closes with voices rising together, a quiet roar that promises change. The network is awake, and the system can no longer hide behind closed doors. Nia stands at the center, no longer alone, but surrounded by a community ready to demand justice. The auditorium is packed, every seat filled with tense anticipation. Nia sits at the edge of her chair, Malik and Ms. Adebayo flanking her in silent solidarity. The superintendent's voice echoes as he prepares to read the evidence. The crowd's collective breath holds, waiting for the first crack in the facade. The room is heavy with expectation, the air thick with unspoken questions. Teachers exchange furtive glances, some shifting nervously in their seats. Parents clutch, programs tightly, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. The board members sit rigid, their usual composure strained under the weight of the moment. Nia's hands rest lightly on her lap, fingers intertwined but steady. Malik's presence beside her is a quiet reassurance, a reminder of the journey they've endured. Ms. Adebayo's calm gaze sweeps the room, acknowledging the silent support swelling among the audience. The superintendent clears his throat, the sound slicing through the tension. He begins to read aloud, his voice measured but firm, each word a stone cast into the still waters of denial. The evidence unfolds, emails, shredded letters, patterns of exclusion, laying bare the system's fractures. A hush falls, heavier than before. the crowd leans in, eyes fixed on the superintendent, absorbing the weight of truth. The facade begins to crack, the silence now charged with the promise of reckoning. Nia's gaze lifts, meeting the eyes of those around her. In this moment, she is not just a student. She is the embodiment of resilience and quiet defiance. The boardroom, once a place of power, now feels like the stage for justice. The camera lingers on the faces in the crowd, some shocked, some resolute, others quietly moved. The breathless wait is a collective holding of hope, a shared anticipation that change is finally within reach. Mr. Harper sits stiffly in the boardroom, his fingers twitching as he adjusts his tie for the third time. Sweat beads at his temples, tracing slow rivers down his face. His usual confident mask falters, replaced by a flicker of doubt that no one else seems to notice yet. His eyes darted to the superintendent, then to the rows of parents and teachers watching silently. The weight of the evidence laid bare presses down on him like a physical force. He swallows hard, his jaw tightening as he tries to maintain control. Subtle tremor runs through his hands as he reaches for a glass of water, knocking it slightly. The faint clink echoes in the tense room, drawing a few glances. He forces a tight smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. His breath comes uneven, a quiet betrayal of the calm he's trying to project. The camera lingers on his face, capturing the micro-expressions, the fleeting flicker of panic, the forced composure, the tightening around his eyes. He clears his throat, voice cracking slightly as he responds to the superintendent's question. I only wanted what was best," he stammers, the words hollow and unconvincing. His gaze drops, avoiding the eyes of those he once held power over. Around the room, whispers ripple like a slow wave. Board members exchange looks, some shaking their heads subtly. Teachers shift in their seats, a few biting their lips. The balance of power is shifting, and Harper feels it slipping through his fingers. His empire, built on quiet exclusion and unspoken rules, is unraveling. The sweat on his collar is a silent testament to the collapse of control, the beginning of a reckoning, long overdue. The room holds its breath, waiting for the next move, but Harper's silence speaks volumes. The superintendent's voice cuts through the heavy air, steady and deliberate, as he begins to read aloud the evidence Nia has gathered. Emails, shredded letters, and patterns of exclusion unfold before the room like a dam breaking, each word a sharp stone thrown into the still waters of denial. The audience leans forward, eyes wide, absorbing the weight of truth laid bare. Board members exchange uneasy glances, some shifting in their seats, others biting their lips. The usual calm of the room is replaced by a charged tension, a collective reckoning that has been a long time coming. Teachers and parents alike sit in stunned silence, the facade of normalcy cracking with every sentence. Nia sits with Malik and Miss Adebayo, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. The camera lingers on Nia's steady gaze, her hands folded, calmly, in her lap. She is no longer just a student. She is the embodiment of resilience and quiet defiance. Around her, the room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the truth takes hold. The superintendent pauses, letting the silence stretch, heavy and full of meaning. The evidence is undeniable, the system's fractures exposed for all to see. A parent's whispered gasp breaks the quiet, followed by a slow nod from a teacher. The power dynamics have shifted irrevocably. Mr. Harper sits rigid, his face pale, eyes darting nervously. The weight of exposure presses down on him, his usual composure slipping. The room holds its breath, waiting for the next move, but the silence speaks louder than any words. This moment is not just a confrontation, it is a turning point. The truth, once hidden in shadows, now stands in the light, demanding change. The camera pulls back slowly, capturing the faces of those who have waited too long for justice. Nia rises slowly, her voice steady but soft, carrying the weight of countless silenced stories. "I'm not here to shout," she says, eyes scanning, the room filled with faces that have long ignored the truth. "But I will speak, because silence has been the loudest weapon used against us. The room holds its breath, the tension thick but fragile. Malik shifts beside her, a quiet pillar of support. Ms. Adebayo's gaze is unwavering, a silent nod encouraging Nia's courage. Nia continues, recounting the subtle betrayals, the overlooked applications, the whispered doubts, the invisible barriers. Her words are precise, each one a carefully placed stone in the foundation of justice she's building. We were told to settle, to be grateful for crumbs. But dignity isn't negotiable. A teacher in the back shifts uncomfortably, a parent's eyes glisten with unshed tears. The superintendent's face tightens, the weight of accountability settling in. Nia's calm defiance is a quiet storm, a force that doesn't need to roar to be heard. She finishes with a look that says more than words ever could, a promise that the fight is far from over, but the voice of truth will no longer be ignored. The room remains still, the silence now charged with possibility. Change is no longer a distant hope, it's a presence, palpable and unstoppable. Nia sits back down, her heart steady, knowing that in this moment she has become the voice for every student who was told they didn't belong. The battle lines are drawn, and the quiet revolution has begun. The room remains heavy with the weight of Nia's words. No applause breaks the stillness. Instead, a low murmur stirs, a collective breath held in quiet judgment. Parents exchange glances, their faces etched with a mix of sorrow and resolve. Students bow their heads, some clutching hands, others staring at the floor, absorbing the gravity of the moment and what it means for them. Teachers shift uneasily. In their seats, some biting their lips, others exchanging furtive looks. The usual hum of the school feels distant, replaced by a charged stillness that speaks louder than any outburst. The power has shifted. Harper's authority wanes under the weight of unspoken condemnation. Every glance, every subtle gesture in the room is a verdict on the years of exclusion and quiet harm that have come to light. A mother's eyes glisten as she squeezes her child's hand, a silent promise of protection and hope. A janitor in the back straightens, his posture a quiet defiance against years of being overlooked. The superintendent watches, his expression unreadable, but his presence commanding the room's attention. The murmurs are not just noise, they are the first cracks in a wall, long thought unbreakable. Nia sits back, her heart steady, her gaze unwavering. The room breathes together, a shared reckoning unfolding in the stillness. Change is no longer whispered. It is felt, deep, and undeniable. The camera lingers on faces, some tearful, some resolute, all transformed by the truth that has been spoken. The quiet judgment is a verdict, a turning point for the entire community. The scene fades with a soft rustle of papers and the slow exhale of a room ready to move forward, the promise of justice hanging in the air. The battle lines are drawn, not with shouts, but with the weight of collective will and the certainty that this moment cannot be erased. The projector hums to life, casting a grainy video onto the screen at the front of the boardroom. The footage is unmistakable. Mr. Harper feeding Malik's recommendation letter into the shredder, his face set in a mask of indifference. The mechanical whir fills the room, louder than any accusation, as the paper disappears strip by strip. Gasp ripples through the audience, breaking the heavy quiet. Parents lean forward, eyes wide with disbelief and anger. Teachers exchange stunned looks, some covering their mouths, others shaking their heads slowly. Malik sits rigid, jaw clenched, his pain visible but unspoken. The evidence is undeniable, the betrayal laid bare for all to see. Harper's composure crumbles. He glances around, searching for support, but finds only disappointment and outrage. The board members avoid his gaze, their earlier confidence replaced by discomfort. The superintendent's lips press into a thin line, his patience worn thin by the mounting revelations. Nia watches the screen, her expression steady. The shredded letter is more than just paper. It's a symbol of every opportunity quietly destroyed, every dream dismissed with a flick of the wrist. The room absorbs the truth, the weight of lost futures settling over everyone present. A teacher in the back whispers, "How many others?" The question hangs in the air, unanswered but deeply felt. The betrayal is not just Malik's, it belongs to every student whose path was quietly altered, every family who trusted the system to be fair. The projector clicks off, the silence that follows thick with grief and resolve. The shredded letter becomes a rallying point, a piece of evidence that cannot be ignored or explained away. The community's eyes are now open, and the call for accountability is impossible to silence. Nia's gaze meets Malik's, a silent promise passing between them. The truth is out, and there is no going back. A parent rises slowly from the crowd, her hands shaking but her resolve clear. She steadies herself, locking eyes with the board before speaking. "My son got into Yale after we fired you as his counselor," she says, her voice trembling but growing stronger with every word. The room shifts, the weight of her statement settling over everyone like a stone dropped in still water. For a moment, no one moves. The truth is undeniable, and its impact is immediate. Around her, other parents nod quietly, their faces etched with a mix of relief, anger, and long-suppressed pain. The silence is no longer empty, it is charged with the power of shared experience. The system's victims are no longer invisible, they are witnesses, their stories a damning indictment of years spent in the shadows. Nia watches from her seat, her heart steady, but fierce. Malik's hand finds hers, a silent gesture of solidarity. The parents' stand is a turning point, a public reckoning that breaks the long-held silence and gives voice to those who were told to accept less. Bored, members exchange uneasy glances, some shifting in their seats, others biting their lips. The balance of power has shifted irrevocably. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the truth takes hold. The parent's voice cracks slightly, but her resolve does not waver. "We trusted the system to be fair. We were wrong, but today we demand change. For our children, and for every student who was told they didn't belong." Her words ripple through the crowd, awakening something long dormant. A teacher in the back nods slowly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. A janitor stands straighter, his posture a quiet defiance against years of being passed over. The superintendent's face tightens, the weight of accountability pressing down. Nia's gaze meets the parents', a silent promise passing between them. The room holds its breath, the murmurs growing louder, a collective reckoning unfolding. Without a single shout, the parent takes a deep breath and adds, "This is not just about my son. It's about every child who was told to settle, to be less. We will not be silent anymore." The crowd shifts, a wave of quiet agreement spreading through the room. The weight of years of injustice begins to lift, replaced by a fragile hope. Nia squeezes Malik's hand, her eyes shining with determination. The fight is far from over, but the first cracks in the system have appeared. The camera lingers on the parent's face, a mixture of pain and strength, as the room prepares to face the future. Nia's phone buzzes softly, the screen lighting up with an email notification that feels heavier than any message she's received before. Her fingers tremble slightly as she opens it, revealing the words, "Dear Nia, welcome to Harvard." Relief and pride wash over her in waves, but beneath it lies a quiet fire of determination. This letter is more than acceptance. It is a symbol of victory against a system that tried to hold her back. She sits in the boardroom, surrounded by faces that have witnessed the unraveling of old power structures. The weight of the moment presses down, but Nia's gaze is steady, her heart calm. Around her, the room shifts. Some faces soften with hope, others tighten with the sting of accountability. The acceptance letter is a quiet thunder, a testament to resilience and relentless pursuit. Outside, the ivy on the school walls sways gently in the breeze, its roots loosening, a silent metaphor for the old order beginning to crumble. Nia's Reflection in the glass mingles with the faces of those who stood beside her, a mosaic of strength and solidarity. She breathes deeply, the air thick with possibility and the promise of change. The camera lingers on the letter in her hands, the red seal a stark contrast to the faded walls around her. This moment is not an end, but a beginning, a call to continue. The fight for justice, dignity, and equality. Nia stands, the letter held high, her steps steady as she walks toward a future she has earned and will fiercely protect. Mr. Harper sits frozen, the weight of exposure pressing down like a physical force. His eyes dart nervously across the room, searching for allies but finding only disappointment and cold stares. The empire he built on quiet exclusion and unspoken rules is crumbling, piece by piece. His hands tremble slightly as he clasps them together, the facade of control slipping away. The once confident man now wears a mask of pale defeat, his breath shallow and uneven. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the truth settles like a heavy fog. Board members exchange uneasy glances, some shaking their heads subtly, others avoiding eye contact. Teachers shift in their seats, a few biting their lips in silent judgment. The power Harper wielded is gone, replaced by the crushing weight of accountability. He opens his mouth to speak, but no words come. The silence is deafening, louder than any confession. His empire, built on the backs of those he dismissed, is no more. The camera lingers on his face, capturing the subtle collapse of a man who once thought himself untouchable. Outside, the ivy on the school walls seems to shudder, its roots loosening as the old order begins to fall. The room holds its breath, waiting for the next chapter, but Harper's silence speaks volumes. The empire crumbles, and with it, the last vestiges of unchecked power. The meeting draws to a close, but the air in the boardroom is thick with the aftershocks of what has just unfolded. People rise from their seats slowly, as if waking from a long, uneasy sleep. Some parents embrace, tears streaming down their faces, not just for their own children, but for every student who is ever told to dream smaller. Teachers gather in small clusters, voices low but urgent, discussing what comes next. The board members linger at the front, their authority diminished, their faces marked by the realization that the world they managed is changing before their eyes. Nia stands quietly at the center of it all, her presence calm and unwavering. She is no longer just a student or a symbol of resistance. She is the spark that ignited a reckoning. The old order, once held together by silence and routine, has been fractured. The cracks in the system are now impossible to ignore, and through them the first rays of hope begin to shine. The school itself feels different. The walls, once imposing, now seem to breathe, as if relieved to finally witness truth spoken aloud. The ivy outside, which for years clung tightly to the bricks, now appears to loosen its grip, as if recognizing that change cannot be held back. As the crowd disperses, new conversations begin to bloom. Students who once walked the halls with heads down now look up, meeting each other's eyes with a sense of shared purpose. Parents exchange contact information, determined to keep the momentum going. Even the teachers, some of whom once hesitated to speak, now find their voices, discussing ways to ensure that no student is ever left behind again. The sense of possibility is palpable, fragile but real. Nia's gaze sweeps the room, her heart full but steady. She knows the fight is not over. There will be resistance, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But the world has cracked open, and something new is emerging from the fracture. As she steps out into the fading afternoon light, she feels the weight of the past lift, replaced by the promise of a future built on dignity, justice, and the courage to speak when it matters most. The story is not finished, but for the first time, it belongs to everyone. Mr. Harper's footsteps echo through the deserted halls, each step a reminder of the authority he once wielded. The awards and framed certificates he carefully packs into. A battered box tells stories of a time when his word was law. A faded group photo slips from the pile, cracking as it hits the floor. He hesitates, then crushes it under his palm, the sound swallowed by the emptiness around him. The silence is heavy, filled with the ghosts of promises broken and dreams deferred. The walls, once witnesses to whispered conversations and quiet decisions, now seem to close in, reflecting the collapse of a man who believed himself untouchable. His breath is shallow, his movements slow, weighed down by the realization that the empire he built is crumbling. As he moves through the hallways, the absence of familiar faces is stark. The janitor's cart creaks in the distance, a subtle reminder of the daily grind that continues despite the upheaval. Teachers pass by with averted eyes, their expressions a mix of relief and sorrow. The power dynamics have shifted, and Harper is left to reckon with the consequences of his actions. He pauses at a classroom door, the nameplate faded, but still legible. Memories flood back. Conversations, decisions, moments of quiet exclusion. The photo in his hand is a symbol of a past that can no longer be reclaimed. He exhales slowly, the weight of his downfall settling in. The empty hallways echo with the sound of a privilege that has been stripped away, leaving behind only the hollow shell of what once was. In the distance, the faint murmur of students' voices drifts through a cracked window, a reminder that life goes on beyond these walls. Harper's gaze lingers on the empty corridors, the absence of his presence palpable. The trophies that once gleamed proudly now gather dust, their shine dulled by neglect and change. He runs a hand through his thinning hair, the gesture betraying a vulnerability rarely seen. The weight of years spent maintaining control presses down, and for the first time, he feels the fragility of his position. The empire he thought eternal is unraveling, thread by thread. With a final glance around the room, Harper closes the door behind him, the click echoing like a punctuation mark on a chapter ending. The hallways remain silent, the echoes of his footsteps fading into memory. The privilege he once commanded has slipped through his fingers, leaving only the stark reality of a new order rising in its place. Mr. Harper stands in line at a local coffee shop, the usual buzz of conversation and clinking cups swirling around him. But today, he feels invisible. The barista, a young Latina woman with a calm but firm demeanor, meets his eyes briefly before looking away, her expression unreadable but distant. She serves the customers ahead of him without a word, her movements deliberate and unhurried. The now hiring sign behind the counter catches his eye, his name crudely crossed out in thick black marker. The message is clear, unspoken, but unmistakable. Harper's shoulders slump slightly, the weight of his fall from grace settling in with every passing second. The once familiar surroundings now feel foreign, a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can change. He orders his coffee quietly, the usual confidence replaced by a hesitant tone. The barista's refusal to acknowledge him is a silent rebuke, a consequence of years of dismissing and undermining those she now represents. Around him, the cafe hums with life, but Harper feels isolated, a relic of a system that no longer has a place for him. The chatter and laughter around him seem distant, as if he's trapped behind an invisible barrier. Outside, the city moves on, unaware of the quiet reckoning unfolding within these walls. Harper's gaze lingers on the crossed-out sign, a stark symbol of change and accountability. The cold cup in his hands is a bitter reminder that privilege and power are fleeting, and the consequences of injustice are unavoidable. He takes a slow sip, the bitterness matching the taste of his downfall. The barista's eyes meet his once more, steady and unyielding, before she turns to the next customer. Harper's presence fades into the background, swallowed by the steady rhythm of a world that is finally waking up. The coffee shop, once just a place of routine, has become a stage for poetic justice, where the smallest acts speak volumes about the shifting tides of power and dignity. Harper's story is a quiet testament to the inevitable fall of those who wield power without conscience. Harper sits at a small table by the window, his coffee cooling untouched beside him. The glass separates him from the world outside, a world that seems to move on effortlessly, unconcerned with his presence. Students pass by in groups, their laughter and animated conversations drifting in with the occasional breeze. No one glances his way. The barrier of the window is more than just physical. It is the line between what was and what is now. He watches as a group of students pause to help a younger child tie his shoe, their kindness unforced, their camaraderie genuine. A teacher walks by, arms full of books, pausing to chat with a parent. At the curb, the small, everyday gestures of community life continue, indifferent to the man watching from the other side of the glass. Harper's reflection stares back at him, older, more uncertain, the confidence that once defined him now replaced by a quiet resignation. Inside the cafe, the rhythm of daily life continues. The barista calls out orders, a couple debates over a crossword puzzle, and a pair of teenagers share a joke, their laughter ringing out clear and free. Harper feels the distance keenly, the sense of being left behind growing with every passing minute. The world he tried to control is no longer his, and the realization settles in his chest like a stone. He turns his gaze back to the street, watching as the ivy on the school wall across the road shivers in the wind. The old routines, the unspoken rules have been swept away, replaced by something new and unpredictable. Harper's hands rest on the table, fingers tracing idle patterns on the wood, searching for comfort in the familiar. But nothing feels the same. As the sun shifts, his reflection fades, replaced by the vibrant life outside. Harper is left with the knowledge that the world will keep moving, with or without him. The window reflects not just his image, but the truth. Change is relentless, and those who refuse to adapt are left to watch from the sidelines. Nia returns to the library, greeted by Miss Adebayo's warm smile and the sight of a new wall dedicated to Black alumni and trailblazers. The once quiet space now hums with stories of resilience and achievement, each photo a testament to those who broke barriers and paved the way. Nia's fingers trace the framed MIT acceptance letter of Malik beside her own Harvard letter, a symbol of progress and hope. The library feels alive, filled with the soft rustle of pages and the quiet determination of students studying and dreaming. Miss Adebayo stands nearby, her eyes reflecting pride and a deep sense of accomplishment. The wall is more than decoration. It is a declaration that voices once silenced are now heard and celebrated. The names and faces on display are not just memories. They are living proof that change is possible, and that every effort, every struggle, matters. Nia's heart swells with a mix of gratitude and resolve. She knows the journey is far from over, but this wall is a milestone, a visible marker of change that honors the past while inspiring the future. The ivy outside the window creeps along the brick, its roots strong and unyielding, mirroring the spirit of those who refuse to be forgotten. The library, once a place of quiet study, has become a sanctuary of hope and a beacon for those who dare to dream. As Nia places a small photo of a young student on the wall, a silent promise is made to continue the fight for justice, dignity, and opportunity. The camera lingers on Nia's face, calm and determined, as the scene fades to the soft glow of afternoon light filtering through the windows. The legacy of those honored on the wall is a call to action, a reminder that change is possible when courage meets community. Outside, the school buzzes with renewed energy. Students gather in small groups, discussing plans for future initiatives and ways to support one another. The atmosphere is charged with a sense of possibility, a collective belief that the barriers of the past can be dismantled. Nia watches from the library window, her eyes reflecting the hope and determination of a community ready to embrace change. Nia stands in the quiet library, the soft rustle of pages and the faint scent of old books surrounding her. Ms. Adebayo approaches, her eyes warm with pride and a hint of sadness. She embraces Nia gently, whispering words of encouragement and gratitude. "You change things," she says softly, her voice carrying the weight of years of struggle and hope. The library, once a place of silence and solitude, now hums with the energy of students who come to learn, to dream, and to build a better future. Nia leaves behind a stack of her own notes and research, a silent promise to those who will follow. Each page is a testament to resilience, a roadmap for those who refuse to be silenced. As Nia walks away, the camera lingers on Ms. Adebayo's face, a mixture of relief and determination. The fight for justice and dignity is far from over, but the seeds of change have been planted. The library's quiet strength is a beacon, a sanctuary for those who seek knowledge and truth. Outside, the school buzzes with renewed hope. Students gather in small groups, their voices filled with plans and dreams. The walls that once confined now seem to open, welcoming a new era of possibility. Nia's footsteps echo softly as she leaves, each step a quiet declaration of the power of wisdom passed on. Nia walks into the school's main office, immediately sensing the difference in the air. The new counselor, a black woman with a calm, welcoming smile and steady eyes, now sits behind the desk where Mr. Harper once ruled with quiet authority. Her presence is more than a simple change of staff. It's a quiet revolution, a living symbol that doors are opening where walls once stood. Students of every background line up, their faces filled with hope and anticipation. The energy in the office is unmistakable, a gentle hum of possibility that was missing before. The counselor greets each student with genuine warmth, her words encouraging and inclusive, her attention undivided. The balance of power has shifted. The office, which once served as a gatekeeper to dreams, now feels like a gateway to opportunity. From a distance, Nia observes the transformation, a small, proud smile on her lips. She watches as the new counselor's calm confidence and gentle authority contrast sharply with the cold detachment of the past. Teachers pass by, some nodding in approval, others exchanging quiet smiles that speak of relief and hope. The school feels lighter, the burden of exclusion finally beginning to lift. The camera lingers on the counselor's hands as she organizes files, each movement deliberate and full of care. Every folder represents a student's future, now handled with respect and thoughtfulness. The office buzzes softly with conversations about ambitions, plans, and possibilities, a stark contrast to the tense quiet that once filled the space. Nia steps forward, her heart steady and full. She knows the struggle isn't over, but this seat at the table is a hard-won victory, a foothold in a system that once seemed impossible to change. The scene closes with a wide shot of the office, sunlight streaming in, the room alive with hope and new beginnings. It is a beacon for those who will come after, a promise that change, once started, can never be fully turned back. The school board meeting is quiet but charged, the air thick with the weight of decisions long overdue. The superintendent sits at the head of the table, pen poised over a stack of documents that will reshape the future. The room is filled with board members, teachers, and community leaders, each aware that the policies they approve today will ripple through generations. The new policies are clear and deliberate, blind recommendations to ensure fairness, comprehensive diversity training to uproot bias, and a firm zero-tolerance stance on discrimination. Each clause is a step toward dismantling the barriers that have held back countless students. The superintendent's signature at the bottom of the page is more than ink on paper. It is a commitment to justice and accountability. Conversations hum quietly around the room, voices low but resolute. A teacher leans forward, sharing a story of a student once overlooked, but now thriving under the new guidelines. A board member nods thoughtfully, acknowledging the necessity of change. The atmosphere is one of cautious optimism, a recognition that while the road ahead is long, progress is finally being made. Outside the meeting room, the school feels different. The walls seem less imposing, the halls lighter with possibility. Students pass by with renewed confidence, their futures no longer shadowed by unseen obstacles. The camera lingers on a policy document pinned to a bulletin board. Its bold title, A Beacon of Hope. Equity and Inclusion, a New Chapter. Nia watches from a distance, her heart swelling with quiet pride. The fight for justice has moved from whispers to action, and though challenges remain, The foundation for lasting change has been laid. The scene closes with sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating the faces of those ready to build a better tomorrow. Nia walks home beneath a sky streaked with dusk, the city around her quiet but alive with the promise of change. The air carries a soft hum, the kind that follows a storm when the world holds its breath before the next breath of life. Her footsteps echo softly on the pavement, steady and sure, each one a testament to the journey she has undertaken. Her mind drifts to the faces of those who stood beside her, Malik, Ms. Adebayo, Mr. Otis, and the countless others whose stories have woven together into a tapestry of resilience and hope. The fight for justice has been quiet but relentless, a whisper that has grown into a chorus impossible to ignore. The library, the school halls, the community center, all places once marked by silence and exclusion, now pulse with new energy. Walls that once confined now seem to open, welcoming voices that were long silenced. Nia's heart swells with a quiet pride, knowing that the legacy of this revolution is not in loud declarations, but in the steady, unyielding persistence of those who refuse to be erased. As she reaches her doorstep, the sky deepens into night, stars beginning to pierce the darkness. Her voice carries softly in the quiet, a final promise. Change doesn't roar. It whispers, through libraries, late-night hacks, and the scratch of a pen saying yes when the world said no. The city breathes easier, the future quietly, irrevocably changed. The scene fades with the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant murmur of voices, a legacy of quiet revolution that will endure beyond this moment.